Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because what we witnessed tonight wasn't just another regular season matchup. No, this was basketball at its finest. Drama, grit, star power, and the kind of back-and-forth intensity that makes the WNBA one of the most exciting leagues in the world right now. Under the bright lights, the Indiana Fever and the Phoenix Mercury squared off in a clash that had everything you could ask for: highlight plays, jaw-dropping shots, physical battles in paint, and a crowd that lived and breathed every possession. By the time the final buzzer sounded, fans weren't just satisfied. They were buzzing, already talking about what this means for the battles still to come. Right from the opening tip, the pace was set at a blistering level. Indiana wasted no time making their intentions clear. Aliyah Boston, the young centerpiece of this Fever squad, came out aggressive, sealing her defender deep in the paint and demanding the basketball. That energy rippled across her teammates. Kelsey Mitchell, known for her ability to push the tempo, was darting up the floor, keeping the Mercury defense on their heels. And then, of course, there was Caitlin Clark, the rookie who's not just living up to hype, but rewriting expectations for what a first-year player can do in this league. Clark wasted no time announcing her presence, calmly drilling a step-back jumper over the towering Brittany Griner. That shot wasn't just 2 points. It was a statement, a reminder that Indiana wasn't here to survive this game. They were here to control it. But if Indiana thought Phoenix would roll over, they were mistaken. Brittany Griner, one of the most dominant forces the WNBA has ever seen, quickly showed why she remains a nightmare matchup. Using her length, strength, and uncanny footwork, Griner established herself in the low block, forcing Indiana to send help defenders. Each time the Fever collapsed on her, she made them pay, either finishing through contact or kicking out the shooters who kept the scoreboard moving. And then there was Diana Taurasi, the legend, the icon, the player whose very presence elevates any game she plays in. She came out with the poise of someone who's been here countless times before, orchestrating the Mercury offense, calming the storm when Indiana threatened to pull away, and reminding everyone why she's one of the most respected veterans the game has ever seen. The first quarter was a battle of wills. Indiana leaned on their youth, their speed, their willingness to attack at every opportunity. Phoenix countered with experience, discipline, and the kind of execution that comes from players who've been through the wars. Every basket felt like a mini chess move. Every defensive stop like a punch countered by another. When Clark drilled her second three of the night, the Fever bench erupted. But on the very next possession, Taurasi answered with a cold-blooded jumper of her own. The building shook with noise, and you could sense it already. This wasn't going to be an ordinary night. As the second quarter got underway, the physicality went up another level. Brianna Jones, tasked with battling Griner in the trenches, showed no fear. She banged, boxed out, and fought for every rebound like it was the last possession of the game. And that effort paid off, sparking fast breaks where Clark and Mitchell thrived. The Fever's ball movement was crisp, swinging from side to side until Boston or an Alyssa Smith found seams to exploit inside. Indiana looked dangerous, their young core showing flashes of brilliance. And for stretches, they dictated the game's rhythm. Clark, in particular, had the crowd eating out of her hand. No-look passes, deep threes, and that calm demeanor that makes you forget she's still just a rookie. But Phoenix, oh Phoenix, they built their reputation on resilience. Griner continued to punish single coverage, forcing Indiana to pick their poison, guard her one-on-one and wrist domination, or send help and risk leaving shooters open. Sophie Cunningham provided timely buckets, stretching the floor and refusing to let Indiana's defense relax. And just when it looked like the Fever might open up a cushion, Taurasi once again delivered a dagger three that silenced the run. It was veteran savvy against youthful hunger, and neither side was blinking. Halftime arrived with the score tight, the momentum swinging like a pendulum from one side to the other. Both teams retreated to the locker room with plenty to talk about. For Indiana, the question was simple. Could they sustain this energy for 40 minutes against one of the league's most seasoned squads? For Phoenix, the task was equally clear. How you slowed down Clark, whose confidence seemed to grow with every possession. The adjustments would define what came next. The third quarter began with fireworks. Indiana struck first, pushing the pace once again. Boston set the tone with a strong move inside, finishing through Griner's outstretched arms and drawing a foul that brought the Fever faithful to their feet. Clark followed that up with another deep bomb from beyond the arc, her range proving limitless. And suddenly Indiana had a burst of momentum. The Fever bench was on its feet, the crowd was deafening, and the Mercury looked momentarily stunned. But champions don't fold, and Phoenix has the heart of one. Taurasi steadied the ship, methodically working the pick and roll, finding Griner in her sweet spots, and punishing every Indiana mistake. The game reached a fever pitch midway through the third. Possession after possession, both teams delivered haymakers. Clark would thread a perfect bounce pass in transition, only for Griner to answer with a thunderous dunk on the other end. Mitchell hit a clutch mid-range jumper, but Taurasi calmly responded with another three. The margin stayed razor-thin, neither team able to fully seize control. The tension in the arena was palpable. Fans hanging on every whistle, every loose ball, every timeout. This wasn't just about one night. It was about pride, reputation, and the belief that both of these teams had what it takes to make a deep playoff push. As the fourth quarter began, fatigue became a factor, but neither side showed signs of giving in. Indiana's youngsters had every excuse to tire out, but instead, they doubled down. Boston continued to battle in the paint, securing key rebounds and protecting the rim with authority. Clark, with the poise of a seasoned veteran, orchestrated the offense with patience and precision. Her ability to control the pace, knowing when to push and when to slow things down, was remarkable for someone at her stage of their career. Mitchell, too, stepped up, attacking gaps and knocking down shots when her team needed the most. Phoenix, however, leaned into their experience. Taurasi, with decades of clutch moments under her belt, thrived under pressure. Griner, though clearly fatigued from the relentless physicality, still managed to deliver in key spots, and the Mercury role players refused to disappear, hitting shots that kept them within striking distance. Every possession mattered. Every missed opportunity felt magnified, and the energy inside the building was at a boiling point. The final minutes were pure chaos, the kind of basketball that leaves fans on the edge of their seats and players digging deeper than they thought possible. With just under 3 minutes to play, Clark drilled a logo three that sent the arena into a frenzy, giving Indiana a narrow lead. Phoenix responded immediately, with Griner muscling her way to the rim for a tough finish. On the next possession, Boston secured a massive offensive rebound, kicking it back out to Mitchell, who buried a jumper that stretched the lead again. But just as the Fever faithful started to exhale, Taurasi silenced the crowd with a clutch bucket that reminded everyone why she's still one of the most feared players in crunch time. The clock ticked down, each possession carrying the weight of the entire night. Indiana leaned on their rising star, Clark, who calmly orchestrated the offense, drawing defenders and finding her teammates. Phoenix leaned on their legends, Griner and Taurasi, who refused to let the game slip away. It was a battle of generations, the fearless youth of Indiana against the seasoned wisdom of Phoenix. And fittingly, it came down the wire, with the game hanging in the balance. Clark once again rose to the occasion, hitting a tough contested jumper that gave Indiana just enough breathing room. The defense held firm. Boston secured the final rebound, and as the buzzer sounded, the Fever had secured a statement victory. When it was all said and done, this game was more than just a win or a loss. For Indiana, it was proof that their young core, led by Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, has the talent, poise, and fight to stand toe-to-toe with the league's most experienced squads. For Phoenix, it was a reminder that their championship DNA is alive and well, and that as long as Griner and Taurasi are on the floor, they will never go quietly. Both teams walked off the court battered, exhausted, but with their heads held high, because what they gave us was special, a showcase of basketball at its finest, and a preview of the battles still to come. But while tonight's game felt like a closing chapter, it's really only the beginning of a much larger story unfolding across this WNBA season. The Fever, energized by a roster blending youthful firepower and veteran presence, are shaping themselves into a team that's more than just competitive. They're becoming must-watch basketball. Every possession, every defensive stand, every transition bucket feels like a stepping stone towards something greater. And most exciting part, they're learning how to win together as a collective unit, with chemistry building game after game. Caitlin Clark's star power is undeniable. Her deep shooting range, her poise under pressure, her vision that turns simple possessions into highlight reels. But what makes this team truly dangerous is how her presence elevates those around her. Defenses collapse on her, and suddenly Kelsey Mitchell has an extra half step of space to attack off the dribble. Aliyah Boston can seal her defender in the paint with confidence, knowing a perfectly timed entry pass is coming. Nalissa Smith can crash the board with freedom, because Clark is drawing two defenders 30 feet from the basket. It's a ripple effect, a chain reaction, and it's giving Indiana something they haven't consistently had in years, an identity rooted in pace, spacing, and fearless shot-making. On the other side, the Mercury still command respect. Brittany Griner, despite all she's been through, remains a generational talent. Her footwork, her timing, her ability to protect the rim. It forces every opponent to think twice about entering the paint. Diana Taurasi, the ageless wonder, continues to remind fans why she's in conversation as the greatest to ever lace them up. Even when the stat sheet doesn't glow, her leadership and clutch shot-making keep Phoenix in striking distance. The Mercury may have fallen short tonight, but if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that you underestimate them at your own peril. When their shooters get hot, when their rotations click, they can still go toe-to-toe with anyone in this league. Zooming out, this clash between the Fever and Mercury wasn't just a regular season battle. It was a glimpse at the shifting balance of power in the WNBA. For years, Indiana's been chasing, trying to rebuild, trying to climb back into relevance. Now, with Clark's arrival and Boston's steady rise, the Fever are no longer content with moral victories or flashes of potential. They're demanding respect, forcing the rest of the league to circle the matchup on their calendars. Because the Fever are coming, and they're coming fast. And that's what makes the league so exciting right now. Every team has a story. The Liberty are stacked, a juggernaut loaded with MVP caliber talent. The Aces are still